So because I said so was probably my parents' favorite phrase growing up, and it was definitely my least favorite. I was not a fan of it at all. They were notorious in my community for being the strict parents, which didn't go well for someone who doesn't always love authority. And because of all their high standards, I didn't always feel like I could meet them, so a lot of my life was dedicated to fulfilling the bare minimum at home so I could get out of the house and kind of escape things.
When I was in high school, I was always called Tristen the Christian, and it was a funny nickname because it rhymed and it's my faith and what I believe in, but it was also a way for them to kind of make fun of me. It was their way of saying that I was a party pooper because I wouldn't drink, I wouldn't smoke, I wouldn't, make those decisions because I just knew that wasn't the future I wanted for my life. Yes, I got called Tristen the Christian, but to me that was worth it.
When I finally got to college, it felt like the epitome of freedom because I didn't have anything to pay for. I was in charge of every decision I wanted to make, and it felt great for at least a few weeks. But eventually, I kind of realized that freedom, for the sake of me, was really just freedom at the expense of me. And it really sent me into a spiral of carelessness and anxiety. Because I decided not to show up to class, I decided not to do my work. And I searched for anything I possibly could that made me feel happy, which at the time was a lot of meaningless relationships.
What was interesting was as I went through high school, as I went through that time in my life, I didn't realize the impact it was having on my friends and those around me. You see, to me, I was just making small decisions that didn't seem to have an impact on anyone else other than myself. But I later on found out that it was encouraging those around me, and I had no clue. I didn't even see the results of that.
A bad job and a few other chain of events led me to leaving CCU for the summer and going back home with my parents and doing an internship at my old church. And being at my old church was really interesting because I was surrounded by people who loved me and valued me and wanted what was best for me. And because of that, I in turn wanted what was best for them as well. And I wanted to make the church more successful. So I dedicated my life to making that church better and doing whatever I could to make the kingdom of heaven better.
When I graduated, I had a number of friends that they came up to me and they were telling me how they are encouraged by the fact that I didn't drink or I didn't smoke. And it was encouraging to me to hear that that actually encouraged others. And it was really cool to see God working through that because God was transforming my life, but He was using those small decisions as a way to transform the lives of those around me.
So when I got back to college, my whole perspective changed. Instead of living for myself, I was living for the kingdom of heaven, which means that all my schoolwork was getting done, not because I wanted to do it, but because I wanted to make the kingdom of heaven better later.
I had a friend, Riley, and she came up to me after graduation. We just threw our caps. It was a great celebration, and she had a letter for me. And she was like, "Don't read this now, read it when you get home." And I was like, "Okay." And I go home and I open up the letter, and I think it's one of the greatest letters I've ever gotten. And I guess we had a conversation one time about the college that I was going to. And she had asked me, she was like, "How are you so certain that you're going to UNC?" And I was like, "It's not that I'm sure of UNC. It's that I know that God has a plan for me. It's not that I trust UNC. It's that I trust God and His plan for my life." And to be honest, I don't even remember having that conversation, but it was in her letter. And she said that seeing how I understood that God had a plan for me gave her hope that God has a plan for her too. And that was so encouraging. I had no clue that that small conversation had such a great impact.
All the leadership positions that I got to be in, I got to help a lot of people and love them dearly and also teach them well because I cared about them being successful. And I even got to pour into a healthy relationship with my now wife, who I love dearly, because I was worried about loving her well instead of what I needed. And it's really funny to look back on all these things because what felt like freedom my freshman year of college is now the exact opposite to me. It feels so imprisoning. And everything that I thought was going to be imprisoning then is now the most freedom I've ever felt because I'm dedicated to the kingdom of heaven and I've never been more free.
It's the small decisions that lead to the big decisions. The small decisions are like individual steps you take as you walk through life. The question is, where are your steps leading you? God gives you the freedom to take your own steps. So use your freedom wisely.